Hi everyone, my name is Rachel Hutley and I'm an elementary education major, and today I will be teaching you about diplopods. So diplopod has two Latin roots, and those are diplus and pod. Diplus meaning double and pod meaning foot. So the meaning of the word diplopod is double-footed, which makes sense because each body segment of a millipede or a diplopod has two pairs of legs. So that's fancy. And then also, a millipede is another name for a diplopod. It's not the scientific name, but it's also called a millipede, and that can be divided up into two parts as well, and milli meaning 1,000 and pede meaning feet, so 1,000 feet. And this can be a misconception because no millipede actually has 1,000 feet, but they typically have anywhere from 100 to 300 legs, and they can have up to 750 legs, but not 1,000. So nice try with the name, but get them next time. Anyway, diplopods can be as small as 2 millimeters, or they can be anywhere up to 270 millimeters, or even bigger, which is kind of crazy. Like, try picturing a 27 centimeter long millipede. That would be kind of frightening if you ask me. But diplopods are made up of these things called diplosegments, which this actually allows them to have two pairs of legs on each segment, because each body segment that they have is actually two segments that have been fused together, which is why they are able to have two pairs of legs on each body segment. Now, although they have many body segments with a lot of legs on each, these body segments can be grouped together to make up three functional segments, those being the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. The thorax and the abdomen are really easy to tell apart from each other because the thorax, so the first segment of the thorax will have no legs, and then the second two segments of the thorax will have just one pair of legs each, whereas whenever it transitions into the abdomen is where you'll find the diplosegments, where there will be two pairs of legs on each of those segments. So that's how you tell the difference between those. You will find millipedes in very high calcium-rich environments, and also environments with a lot of rainfall. And the reason for this is because they have an exoskeleton that they make out of calcium, and so this also makes them an important role player in the calcium cycling in the environment. They also have a constant dependence upon moisture, and so you will find them most in high rainfall environments. But they can live in arid environments as well, but they typically, you'll only find them out and about right after a rainfall, and then after they've done what they need to do, they just hide under vegetation and try to be places where they can preserve as much water as possible. They're very vulnerable to desiccation because they lose a lot of water every time that they reproduce and every time that they go to the bathroom, and they also have an open gas exchange system which causes them to lose water, and their exoskeleton does not have a waterproof layer, so they are very vulnerable to that. Another thing to know about millipedes is that they can be divided into three groups. So I actually have pictures of these because I wanted you to see the difference. So there can be, they can be tubular shaped, they can be flat-backed, or they can be like pill bug. And so the difference in how each of those look. So first I'm going to show you the pill bug. And these are the ones that, they all roll up into balls to save their legs, or to protect their legs, not save them. But anyway, here's what a pill bug looks like. If you can see that, that's a pill bug, and they kind of have you can see their hard exoskeleton that they have. And then here is a flat-backed millipede, and I don't know how well you can see this, but you can see that it's more of a flat shape. And lastly, here's a tubular. So this is probably what you picture when you think of a millipede. But yeah, and look at all those legs. Crazy. So those are the 3 different types of millipedes. Another thing to know about them is that they breathe using trachea, and the way they do this is like they have spiracles that are connected to the outside, like, okay, so their trachea is connected to the outside world, like, through the spiracle, and this allows them to breathe in the moist air of their environment. So, that, they have antennas, and these can be poisonous. Now, very few millipedes actually are poisonous. I mean diplopods, but some of them are, and they can actually, the ones that are, can take down some vertebrates, including like mice or birds or even toads. So they can be very dangerous, but only a small number of millipedes or diplopods are actually poisonous. Most of them are just herbivores that like to feed off of decaying plants, so harmless to humans. But anyway, they have a ton of legs, as I'm sure you got from their name, for one, and just everything that I've said. But they have a lot of legs, but actually they have jointed legs, and each leg moves independently from one another. So, like, you know what that means. And anyway, so this actually causes them to move in a wave-like fashion. And lastly, so the females will lay eggs, and they actually lay their eggs in their feces, and then they protect the eggs. So that's the female's job. Now, the way that their habitat, I will say that first, is a damp forested environment. That's where they flourish. But then, like I said earlier, they can live in arid environments. They just have to be more cautious so that they don't suffer from desiccation. Anyway, the way that they reproduce is the males have gonopods, which are modified legs that carry sperm packs, and then they deliver those to the female and fertilize their eggs. So that's neat. Their importance to humans, they are one of the world's best composters, so that is important for our environment. They return organic matter into the soil, so that is also good for the environment. And they have a significant impact on the pH of soil. So that's like, they basically sound like they're good for farmers. They help make sure the soil is ready to use and will flourish and make wonderful vegetables. So on the relative complexity scale, they are complex. They're not like very complex. They're not vertebrates or anything, but they're not simple. And so just a few other little facts about millipedes. They have little to no vision. They are nocturnal, and they are also believed to be one of the first land animals to evolve. And this means that they could be up to 400 million years old. So anyway, those are my last facts, but then I have some pictures to show you. So they're different from centipedes. Some people get them confused, but this picture is not showing up very well, but the centipedes, they only have one pair of legs on each body segment, whereas the millipedes have 2 on each. And I will put that in the handout because you can't really see that very well. But yeah, and then this picture I will also put in the handout because the glare is just awful. But Anyway, so it shows like you'll be able to see the first 3 segments of the millipede and how that's the thorax, because the first one will have no legs, and then there will just be 1 pair of legs on each, and then after that it'll go to the 2 pairs of legs. And lastly, I wanted to show you this picture because this is how millipedes protect their legs, because their legs are very valuable to them. So anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd be glad to answer them in the discussion board. And I hope you all have a wonderful day.